welcome to my channel on the best of fantasy. These are the weeks that were, are, and shall be. Let's begin with a huge thank you to all of you who bought a copy of the Edan Trilogy, maybe book 1, 2, 3, or all of them during the sale last month. Very successful sale. I had about 1,000 or more than 1,000 sales in the month of June. A very successful month for a month that is not a release month. So I'm just incredibly grateful. This is me living the dream here of writing and having an audience of just wonderful people who are reading the books. So thank you so much. If you've picked up a copy of any book in the trilogy ever, thank you so much. And I want to thank you all for those of you who've read it and reviewed it and all of that. As usual, I'm just incredibly grateful to be here. So thank you. And now I want to say a quick word about the Broken Binding edition of The Way of Edan. And I think there will be also editions of The Prophet of Edan and Return to Edan as well from the Broken Binding. But right now we're focusing on The Way of Edan. And the art has started this month. I am so excited about this. And there are 2 artists being engaged. I don't know. I don't think there's any problem with me saying who they are. But just in case, I'll wait till the next episode of the weeks that were to announce who they are. But I'm really excited because I got the one that I requested, and there's another one that was suggested for the cover. So the one artist will be doing the cover. Very excited about that. I've been looking at this person's art, and I'm just deeply impressed and excited about what they're going to produce here. And also another artist doing the interior art, and I'm really pumped about it. I'm just so absolutely just crazy excited. And I will be sharing the art on this channel. Patrick Leo is doing the art direction, as he's been doing for the Broken Binding for lots of great books, notably Malazan recently. He's been doing a fantastic job hitting it out of the park as the art director. And he is the one that is really setting all this up for the special edition of The Way of Edan as well. So, I mean, big thank you to Patrick for being on board for this as well. Just really excited about all of it. And the audiobook is going to be out, I believe, this month. I'm going to be meeting with Alan, my narrator, Alan from the Library of Alexandria, that Alan. He's doing the narration, and I am just so excited. I think a lot of people have been waiting for this audiobook, and it is going to be worth the wait. I'm going to be meeting with Alan very soon, though, to discuss details. And I am fairly confident that we'll have this thing out by the end of July. Yeah, so exciting stuff there. Now, on the channel, lots of other exciting stuff too. I had a discussion about the Library Trilogy by Mark Lawrence. That's the book that wouldn't burn and the book that broke the world. And this discussion included Jared from The Fantasy Thinker and Carlos, who is one half of StoryTube, along with Yolanda. Yolanda hadn't quite finished reading the second book yet, so she did not take part in the discussion. Also, we were going to include our friend Angela from Do Unicorns Read, but she is attending to important stuff in her life right now, so she was also unable to join us. But we still had a great time talking about these 2 books, one of my favorite ongoing series right now. I think Mark Lawrence is just brilliant. I encourage everyone to give The Book That Wouldn't Burn a try if they haven't done so yet. It is so different. It is so just genre bending and thought provoking and just a great page turning story. All of it right there. Boom. So give it a shot. Also, I did a review on the channel for Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. This was a really moving and important read for me. I really feel that Octavia Butler is an author that deserves so much respect and probably should be talked about more here in our corner of BookTube. But man, what a powerful punch that book was. It was just, whoa. And the cool thing is, it was, when she published it in 1993, it was a very much a dystopian kind of future, apocalyptic sort of story. But it's set in 2024. So I feel like it's a really good year to be reading Parable of the Sower. If you have not read it yet, give it a try. Definite recommend from me. I also had a wonderful episode of Dear Dr. Fantasy with Jared Henderson. We talked about a ton of stuff. We have some series in common, authors in common that we love to talk about. Ursula Le Guin is one of them, although Jared is a huge fan of her sci-fi stuff, which I have not read yet. I will be reading later, though. And also we talked about, he's a big fan of Wheel of Time, a series that I enjoyed. And we talked about One Piece. We had actually quite an extended discussion of One Piece during that episode of Dear Dr. Fantasy. So if you're a One Piece fan and you want to hear a little bit of One Piece discussion over with a philosopher, because Jared has made a video on One Piece on his channel about the philosophy of One Piece, I believe. So that is something to check out. Okay, I couldn't hold back that sneeze any longer, so I had to edit. I have edited that out. You do not want to hear me sneeze, believe me. So yes, what else have I done on the channel? Well, speaking of One Piece, hey, I had a marvelous time. I mean, time of my life kind of read here with the Enies Lobby and post Enies Lobby arcs of the Water 7 saga. This is One Piece. This is peak fiction. I am totally immersed, totally invested, excited about this series that I'm reading. I get it now. I totally get it. I am locked in and here for the adventure. I mean, it's just so... I started One Piece really enjoying myself because of the humor mostly. And then I started to realize, oh, wow, this Oda guy here, he's doing some really cool stuff thematically as well. He's including in a very effective way some very challenging, very timely themes. And then I started to feel the emotional investment as well. And this last arc, Enies Lobby particularly, because post Enies Lobby is really just more like I think it's cool. It's got a lot of big reveals and stuff, but it's really more set up for future stories. But Enies Lobby just, wow. I mean, there were moments when I didn't know if I was going to laugh or cry first, and I probably was doing both simultaneously. It was a lot of that. Just beautiful storytelling. Completely blown away. Love it. There's no doubt about this will be among my very favorite reads, not only of this year, but of my life. I'm just having a grand time with One Piece and also engaging with the people who are leaving comments and watching the video. Just tremendous. I'm learning so much from all the kindness and the great insights and even pronunciation help and all kinds of stuff in the comments. Very grateful for all of that. Yeah, and I have some discussions lined up in the future. I'm going to be talking with some of my friends here, people I know. I have one lined up with Alan, and I have one lined up with Murphy, and I hope to be talking with Mike once he catches up and finishes the Water 7 saga. We've been talking about having a chat once he's there. And I would also eventually like to reach out to some people who are more straight up just One Piece content creators, people who are, or just manga, because I want to reach out a little bit and I want to get a sense of why this series speaks to so many people. And the more conversations I have about that, the better, in my opinion. So I'm going to be hopefully lining up some great conversations for One Piece, in addition to keeping up with my read of the series. So yeah, great stuff, hopefully in the future for One Piece. Elsewhere on YouTube, I have participated in a really, I love this series a lot, with AP Canavan over at A Critical Dragon. Now, AP might be my nemesis, and he might be a very dangerous dragon, but he's the smartest person I know on YouTube. And it was just such an enlightening experience to talk about analyzing stories with him. And he put out the last few videos over on A Critical Dragon. We did a thing where we took questions from the series as a whole, where we were talking about various ways of approaching stories, talking about the characters, analyzing the setting and the symbols, and et cetera, tone and style, you name it, and themes, importantly. And then afterwards, we just took the questions and we made, actually, it turned out to be quite a long video. So AP divided it into 3 parts, and you can watch all 3 parts now over at A Critical Dragon. And if you're curious about the origin story of how we became nemesis, then you can find that in the final part of the question answer videos. So that was just a ton of fun. Really enjoyed myself with that series, and hopefully I'll be talking with AP about something else. We'll find a reason to have another series or discussion or something other, I'm sure. And what else I've been doing here? Oh, the Quill Uminati. We had our first convocation over at Mike's channel, over at Mike's Book Reviews, and the Quill Uminati being the idea of Brian Bell from BellTube, and also including John from Talking Story and myself. We had our first read. This is a kind of a reading club of a bunch of geezers here on YouTube. And we talked about The Vanished Birds, a book that I actually enjoyed. I reviewed it as well. I did a non-spoiler review here on my channel. And we had a great discussion over at Mike's channel. Even though Mike was not a fan, I think it's probably known enough at this point. Mike did not enjoy The Vanished Birds. In fact, he DNF'd it. But he did a really great job of hosting that discussion and respectfully allowing us to blab about what we did like about the book. And there was plenty to like, and another definite recommend from me. Also, I was on iWizard, had a great conversation with Jordan over there. He had read The Way of Adan and wanted to talk about it, and talk about, in a broader way, also just writing and publishing, and really a conversation about self-publishing, the pros and the cons versus traditional publishing. Really great conversation. Jordan is just a very intelligent person, extremely well-read, and has a really wonderful philosophical approach to his reading and his writing, because he's also writing a fantasy book. So it was a great conversation. I really enjoyed talking with him, and I just found it to be a very open and honest discussion about all these things. So if that's something you're curious about, and you have read The Way of Adan, because there are some spoilers for The Way of Adan, I definitely, and if you don't mind, they're fairly light spoilers as well. So if you haven't read it and you still want to check out the conversation, I think it's probably fine. Yeah, but great conversation. And then, speaking of great conversations, I had the privilege of being on Joanna's channel for a discussion of Return to Adan, Book 3 of the Adan Trilogy. There is a brief non-spoiler portion of that conversation in the beginning, so if you haven't read any of the Adan books, you could still listen in if you want. But it was just I felt, a beautiful conversation. I really enjoyed myself, and that included, in addition to Joanna, who did a really gracious, wonderful job of hosting that, there was Murphy Napier and John from Talking Story and Tom Orange, and I really enjoyed hearing their insights, all of them. It's a privilege for a writer to hear feedback from readers, and I really enjoyed that process. And Joanna actually hosted conversations on all three books, and I'm so grateful for that, because it's been a very meaningful part of my experience here on this platform, engaging with people who have read my book, and intelligent people who have really cool things to say. So that was really fun. And also, by the time this video is out, I will have participated in a release party over at Talking Story. Yes, John is hosting a release party for Jacqueline Hagan, who is releasing The Sundering Hours. Now, Jacqueline Hagan is the author of The Wickwire Watch, and I actually read this book for SPFBO 9, and it was one of my favorite reads for the contest. I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of praise for The Wickwire Watch. So I have deep respect for Jacqueline Hagan as a writer, and I'm looking forward to interacting with her and John and the other people who are going to be participating in that party. I think John has got contests and all kinds of stuff being arranged for this, so I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It hasn't happened yet, but as I said, by the time this video is out, it will have happened, so hopefully you would have caught it. But if not, go check out the replay. I am currently reading. What am I reading? Well, I am still reading The White Luck Warrior. This is a brick, people. This is a big book. You can see where I am here. There's my bookmark. I hope to finish it this weekend. And I would not call it the Slog of Slogs. It is far from the Slog of Slogs. If you've read the book, you know how. There's a little joke there. Only the people who've read it will know. But it is not the Slog of Slogs. It is a very engaging read, but it's not a quick read for me, anyway. I find R. Scott Baker to be one of the most brilliant writers in the fantasy genre, in literature in general, who's in business these days. I mean, the guy is just brilliant. There's a lot of philosophy in here, though. I think he's ABD for his philosophy PhD. So the guy's really very thoughtful, very well read. I love the Tolkien nods / subversion going on all over the place in here. And if you're not someone familiar with his series, it's the second Apocalypse series, which currently consists of 7 books. And it's divided into two series. So the first is a trilogy, and that is the Prince of Nothing trilogy, which starts with the darkness that comes before. And then there's the Aspect Emperor tetralogy, which this is the second book of the tetralogy, the fifth book overall in the series, The White Luck Warrior. And yeah, it is just deeply philosophical, fascinating stuff. I'm going to be talking with Joanna about it on my channel in the not too distant future. But yeah, it's a heavy read, but very thought-provoking, just gorgeous in places, and also breathtaking, but also oppressive in some ways. It's a bleak world, and without a lot of hope in it. So I do have to say that there's not a ton of hope in this vision, but it is very compelling. And then I'll be reading Jim Butcher's Deadbeat. Yes, I am finally returning to the Dresden Files, and I've been told many times that Deadbeat, this is book 7 in the series, is a huge highlight for a lot of fans. So I'm excited to see what I make of Deadbeat, and I will be discussing this with a couple friends. Josh from Red Fury Books and Ben from Books with Genghis Khan will be joining me in a discussion of focusing mainly on Deadbeat, but just the series up to book 7 as well. So that's going to be, I anticipate, a lot of fun. And then I'll be picking up Of Darkness. I need both hands to grab this. Of Darkness, another big fat book. Of Darkness and Light by Ryan Cahill. This is the second novel in the series, The Bound and the Broken. I had a discussion over at my channel on the first novella and novel. And that discussion included John from Talking Story and Mike from Mike's Book Reviews and Christopher Navo. And it was a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to continuing. I anticipate if it's like the first couple, like the first book and novella, then as big as this book is, it'll probably read very fast, I hope. So that'll be very welcome after The White Luck Warrior, having Deadbeat, which I can anticipate will be a quick, fast read, and Of Darkness and Light. So hopefully I'll get through those really quick, but that one is heavy. And then I will probably, I'm not sure about the order on these last couple, but I will be picking up The Altar of My Fate by Michael Schultheis. This is book 1 of the Rostival saga, and I'm really excited to be reading this. Michael has his own channel here on YouTube. He's an indie author, a great member of our community. So I'm very curious to see what I make of this first book. And then finally, I have Peril's Gate by Jenny Wirtz. Now, this is this is another big book. I'm going to get muscles here from all these big books. But yes, I have praised Jenny Wirtz's writing many a time here on the channel, and it is worthy of that praise and so much more. I am so excited to be returning to this magnificent series, The Wars of Light and Shadow, and I've said it many times, but I will repeat it again. This is, I believe, going to be talked about as one of the greatest achievements in the genre. Putting it up there, probably. I haven't finished it yet, so this is book 6 in the series of 11. But I do think that potentially this could be up there with Realm of the Elderlings and the Malazan Book of the Fallen for me as series that are not just vast and amazing with their world building and their character arcs and all that, but it's so deep what she's doing in here thematically, and her writing is unique and rich. And so I am just excited to return to the series with Peril's Gate, which I'm told is a major point in the series. And yeah, it's big. And again, this is not a book that I will be able to read very quickly. So hopefully in between Baker and this, I'll have some quicker reads that I'll get through, and I'll be good and ready for Peril's Gate when I get to it. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be reading. That's what I'm up to here. I have some great, exciting stuff that on the horizon. I'm going to be having a Dear Dr. Fantasy episode very soon with my friend Brian from BellTube. I've been on his channel before. He's been on my channel for a discussion before as well, but this is Dear Dr. Fantasy, so we're going to be focusing on Brian and picking his brain and finding out about his journey as a reader. And I also have one lined up in the not too distant future with Bridger from the Library Ladder. And even further out, I have some lined up, but those are going to be off in August. And then I'm going to have some chats with Alan from the Library of Alexandria, one about the audiobook that is going to be coming out. So we'll be having more details in our discussion of it. And as I said earlier, I'm going to be talking with him about One Piece, which he is a huge fan of. And Bibliotheory. I'm going to be over at Bibliotheory. That's Aaron's channel. And Aaron has invited me to participate in a kind of a showdown kind of video where we're going to have a discussion about A Game of Thrones, the first book in A Song of Ice and Fire, and The Blade itself, the first book in the First Law trilogy. And it's sort of a clash of titans there. So it'll be a kind of a this versus that sort of thing, I guess. But participating in that discussion, in addition to Aaron and myself, will be John from Talking Story and Brian from BellTube. So a couple of good friends there, and I'm excited to meet Aaron as well. I'm going to be talking with Liam from Liam's Lyceum about Old English and fantasy. He's one of those other booktuber folks like me who loves Old English and is also a huge fan of fantasy. And these things for us are very much intertwined. So I'm excited to talk with Liam. I mentioned already the Dresden chat with Josh and Ben, and just a whole bunch more stuff that is coming up in the future that I'll be shouting about as I get closer to it. But also I want to mention real quickly that I am fully immersed in writing the sequel. I have a standalone sequel that I'm writing of for the Eden trilogy. It is not part of the trilogy, but it's in the same world, and it's about 15 years later. The sequel is called While Darkness Gathers, and I am fully immersed in this, and so that is taking a good chunk of my time. I actually have a finished draft, but I'm revising right now and just thoroughly. I love editing. Some people might think I'm nuts for that, but I actually really love editing. And so, yeah, I'm up to that right now. And also, I will be traveling a fair amount in August. So there may be, what I'm trying to say here is there may be fewer videos than normal in the month of August. But I'll still be hanging around here and putting out some content for you, and hopefully getting to engage with you in the comments and everything else as usual. But yeah, I'm just very happy to be here. Thank you so much for your support, for watching the videos and engaging with me, and just wonderful to be here. Thank you so much. And that is it from me for now. Until next time.